Discourse analysis is based on discursive psychology proposed by Potter and Wetherill. Potter and Wetherill rejected the cognitivist approach to psychology, where people behave as a result of the cognitive states that their beliefs describe. Discursive psychologists argue that language is not a passive reflection of the external world, but enables an individual to perform an action. Discourse analysis takes social constructionism as its epistemological foundation. According to this knowledge, truth and meaning are products of social construction, which is influenced by our culture. Ontologically, discourse analysis acknowledges the self as part of the world, so we can't be objective. Discourse analysis talks about the distributive self, which is entirely social, thus, identities are ongoing and fluid, not fixed. Discourse analysis can be done on most texts, such as conversations, interviews, and speeches. In contrast to thematic analysis, the focus of discourse analysis is on society itself, social meaning, and not the individual or individual meaning. Reality is not separate from the individual, but is created as people converse with each other. There is no rigid set of formal procedures in discourse analysis. The following are rough guidelines on how it should be conducted. 1. The process involves starting with a transcript and working upwards from the micro level up to theory. Number 2, the researcher must first read the text before any analysis takes place. This allows them to decide what a text is doing. Number 3, the process of coding is similar to that in thematic analysis. However, the codes identified focus on discursive techniques, which will be described next, that are relevant to the research question, as opposed to salient keywords or concepts relevant to the research question. Unlike thematic analysis, codes are typically given to chunks of text as opposed to line by line. Forming themes involves examining the patterns of discursive techniques evident in the text and their collective function. Writing the report is the final stage of discourse analysis. Quotes are included to back up the themes and demonstrate the discursive techniques with linguistic evidence. It is important in discourse analysis to include a reflexive piece indicating how your biases, perceptions and beliefs may have influenced your interpretation of the study. Interpretation occurs from the coding phase right up until the writing of the report. When interpreting the data, the researcher is examining how discursive techniques outlined next are used for a particular function in social interactions. Interpretive repertoires are common sense ways in which we make sense of the world, example cultural ideas, values and explanations. They are limited by the language and terminology available in our culture. They are represented by terms and metaphors that we use. For example, cancer is often compared to a battle, i.e. she overcame cancer, she beat cancer. 5 minutes. Ideological dilemmas occur when we take positions that contradict each other based on the context within which the conversation is being held. For example, an individual saying that a mother should bring up their child and later saying that a mother should have a career. Positioning is the way an individual presents themselves compared to others using language. This could be in terms of their relationship or power in comparison to others. For example, an individual may belittle someone in a discussion with them to emphasise their position of power over them. Factual talk is talk used to convince the listener. It is done through emphasis and repetition throughout the text. Emphasis may take the form of extreme case formulation, for instance, describing something as horrible as opposed to bad. For example, because you were late, I couldn't go to work, and later saying, I couldn't leave the children because you were late. Stake and interest involve trying to convince a person that you have no interest or stake in what you are saying and you are claiming that the point you're trying to make is fact. For example, a salesperson saying, if I was you, I would buy this television as a treat for my family. It's as they have nothing to benefit from the television being bought. Independence is used to establish distance. It emphasises the difference between two individuals or groups. For example, a Manchester United supporter describing how a Liverpool supporter would be more likely to engage in disorderly behaviour. This presentation has explained how thematic analysis and discourse analysis vary, with focus on how they vary in interpretation. Take some time now to explore the rest of the website. The following sections contain a more elaborate description of the steps, glossary of key terms, and 2 different forms of text, an interview and a speech, which have been interpreted using thematic analysis and discourse analysis. These examples will further demonstrate how the interpretative writing process varies for thematic analysis and discourse analysis. While the process of analysis can be seen to be quite different, the interpretation is how both techniques are fundamentally different. Interactive tasks accompany the examples, and the final section involves working alone and in a group to conduct thematic and discourse analysis.
Created using Powtoon.